Now, this evening I want to tell you about a new form of yoga which I have devised. First of all, let us have a little look at what is yoga. The word Y-O-G-A, yoga, means union with the divine, virtually, broadly speaking, whatever you may consider that divine to be. As far as I am concerned, it means union with God. Now, there are several forms of yoga which have been practiced throughout the world over this last few centuries, and let us have a quick look at them. There is Raja Yoga. Raja Yoga is a very, very highly skilled form of yoga, and one which I myself practiced diligently for a number of years, even before the Aetherius Society was formed. This yoga is dangerous unless practiced under the strict supervision of a master, but it's a short, quick path. By quick I mean several lives, of course. A short, quick path to a union with the higher aspects contained within one's self. Some of the exercises in Raja Yoga are very advanced and should be given by initiation only. Hatha Yoga. This is a form of physical development. Mostly people start off Hatha Yoga to develop their physical bodies, to make them better swimmers, better tennis players, better runners, and that type of thing. But if they go far enough with this, it's like judo, which is another form of occult practice. If you go far enough with Hatha Yoga, you get away from the physical into the spiritual aspects. Some Hatha Yoga is essential for all people in order to keep the body fit. Karma Yoga, this is a vitally important form of yoga, one of the most important forms in these days. It is the yoga of service. Karma Yoga is skill in spiritual action. Remember those words. Nobody else has said them until I did in Los Angeles some time ago. But it's that I understand Karma Yoga absolutely thoroughly that enables me to make such a broad statement regarding it. It is the yoga of service. Without service, mankind is doomed. So it is the yoga which will save mankind from himself. Kundalini Yoga. This is a highly specialized form of yoga, and again, extremely dangerous, one that should be practiced under a master only, and under his strictest supervision. I have known people to be crippled for life who have practiced Kundalini Yoga without proper guidance. There's only one reason mankind is on earth. There are not two, there's one. That is to use the cyclotron, which he carries around with him. He calls it the spine. In the bottom of that cyclotron, there is an atom of substance. It's the prime evil force. It's the force which activates gives man the capability of making all actions. You can't raise and lower your little finger without activating this force in one way or another. In Kundalini Yoga, virtually what we do is to bombard this atom until it breaks. And when it does split, then fantastic forces are released, and man becomes a master. It's quick and it's very inviting, it's dangerous. Many people have been driven mad by a raise of Kundalini without correct control. You have to go through many, many steps before you attempt to do this. Bhakti Yoga is another yoga which is vitally important in these days. As important as Karma Yoga, Bhakti Yoga is the yoga of devotion. Without the energy called LOVE, we cannot survive on earth. We would even have more wars than we have now, and that's saying a lot. Bhakti Yoga is what we practice in the Aetherius Society, in our prayers and in our mantra session. Gnani is my favorite form of yoga. This is the yoga of wisdom. It's not only a philosophical form of yoga, it is a vitally important one. And when one has raised the power of Kundalini and gained the state of meditation, I'm talking about true meditation, by the way, when one has done this, then one enters into the field of Gnani, or he becomes a knower. Kriya Yoga, there's not much been said about this except by Paramananda Yogananda's master, who did advocate Kriya Yoga. This is a yoga of different forms of exercises, generally given by initiation only. It's a straightforward form of yoga, and I think it's a rather a good one if you take it in the right way. It's not a form of yoga which is generally practiced. Agni is, the word means fire, and this is the yoga of fire. Mantra yoga, another yoga we practice, initiation only. Nobody should, by the occult law, give a mantra to another unless that mantra lives within them. To make a mantra live within them, there's no hard and fast rule about this. You might say a mantra 500,000 times and it still may not live within you. You may say a mantra 30 times and it may live within you. Depends on your previous experience, what you've done in last lives, etc. Mudra Yoga, this is a yoga very, very little known. I don't know of a book on this form of yoga. There may be one, but I don't know of one. It originated on the high plains of Tibet, and it is the yoga of different hand signs. This is given by initiation only. I was initiated by a highly elevated master into Mudra Yoga, and I can and do use hand signs at times in order to bring about a certain result. So now, very briefly, that's a rundown on the forms of yoga which have been used throughout the years. Some of them are only kind of, I might say, philosophical, and others are really put into practice, and when they are practiced, they do bring about very good results within the practicer, providing you know where the danger line is and you take great care of this. Now, I am not in any way trying to find fault or belittle, not in any way, any of these tremendous forms of yoga. But what I have been able to do is to take one or two of them, mainly Karma Yoga and Bhakti Yoga, the yoga of devotion and the yoga of service, and put them together in a far more potent way than anyone has ever done before. Categorical statement. I have brought these two forms of yoga into this present century, in that I have been able to devise a piece of mechanical apparatus which helps the result of these two forms of yoga. It doesn't replace, no mechanical apparatus can replace the human participants. It's utterly absurd to think of this, but it does help the humanoids who cooperate with these two forms of yoga in a very simple way which I have devised. Although I've devised this new system, and it is a new system from a scientific point of view, it's still a very, very ancient system from a philosophical point of view. Both Karma Yoga and Bhakti Yoga are as ancient as mankind, but when they have been put together in the way that I have put them together, we have a system which is more modern than tomorrow. It's because of my feeling for humanity that I have done this. I'd like to say now that the Aetherius Society does not stand and does not wish to gain in any way from a monetary point of view from this new form of yoga. The mechanism is not, repeat, not for sale at any price. But it is because I can see the present, I know a wee bit about the past, and whosoever knows the two times knows the third. That is the law, and I do know what can happen and what definitely will happen in the future, in the near future, unless someone makes a very, very concerted effort to stop it. Very well. Now, I recognize that the average man and woman, no matter how spiritual they may be, is limited to a certain extent. And I face facts as they are, not as I want them to be. I've learnt this through bitter experience. We would all like to address people who are adepts. All right, if you wait for that, you'll have to wait for many lives, believe you me. So we have to take people as they are, but we also have to recognize that in those spiritually minded people there is a fantastic potential which can be realized with the right guidance, with the right direction, with the right teaching. And this new form of yoga will help you to realize a potential within you as you are today, not as you might be tomorrow. There isn't a man or lady in this audience who could not perform this new form of yoga in a very potent manner. No matter what your religious beliefs, providing you believe in a divine source, no matter what your age, no matter if you are blind, no matter even if you are dumb, no matter if you are a cripple, you can still perform this yoga. In doing this, ladies and gentlemen, you can turn the most potent key in the ecological lock that has ever yet been given to you. When I did bring these two great yogas together and bring something else into the picture which no one has ever done before, I repeat, I gave you the most potent ecological key in the world, and a key which everyone can use. And that's the beauty of the new system. There's very, very few people who can really and truly get anywhere with Raja Yoga. There's very, very few people, less people, who can get anywhere with Dhyani. There's even less that can get anywhere with Kundalini Yoga, no matter who tells you you can. You know, there's an awful lot of lip service which has been paid to yoga over the past few years. And it's brought some people popularity which they do not deserve. They have been bandying terms around which they shouldn't do. And they have promised you great happenings within a few weeks of practicing certain little practices. Ladies and gentlemen, it will not happen. It's a pity it won't happen, but it won't happen. You know, before God, I'd like to give every man and woman in this audience tonight a tiny little practice that they could do and be able truthfully to promise them that this would open the realms of enlightenment to them. But I can't, and neither can anyone else on this earth. But I can give you a form of yoga which you can perform far more potently than you have ever done before. So weighing people up and taking people as they were, not as I want them to be, but as they were, I came to the conclusion that something had to be done. And in this new form of yoga, I've done it. You know, the great facts in life are really simple. There is a law which governs everything, and it is so simple. That is the law of karma. You can express the law of karma in a single sentence. You can write 100,000 words about it and still say not very much more than you can in a single sentence. Action and reaction is opposite and equal, and that is the law of karma. You are existing in the karmic law. No matter whether you like it or not does not matter one jot. No matter whether you believe it or not matters even less. It is. It's one thing I personally do like about truth, that it is. Doesn't matter whether George King or Joe Bloggs accepts it, it is. And sooner or later you will learn that truth is. You will learn that karma is. That you have to dot every I in all your thoughts and in all your actions for 24 hours per day. 24 hours per day, not 12, as some people might think. So if we allow the karma of the human race to work itself out without our help, I am afraid that mankind will pollute himself from the face of this globe. But it's no good only attending to the physical things in life or the mental things in life. We have also to attend to the spiritual things in life. Let us come back to you, to Mr. and Mrs. Everyman. And I'm not only talking to the audience in this room at the moment, but to thousands of people who are here that only a respectable clairvoyant may be aware of. And if any of you are a respectable clairvoyant, close your eyes and look around and you'll see them for yourself. Within all of you, there is a God-given potential. And that potential, or some of that potential, can be realized in a very, very simple manner. How? Through prayer. With all my knowledge of science, and it is considerable, with all my knowledge of the occult sciences, and that is considerable, I still say, after due consideration, that one of the most definite ways that a people can help the earth and themselves and to realize the God-given potential within them is through the simple expedient of prayer. Again, this irrespective of your religious beliefs, providing only you believe in some divine source. You know, come back to the old thing, friends. Now, let's really face it. Another aspect of the law. Faith without works is dead. And it is. It's as cold as a body that died a week ago. And that's the big difference. So what happens when you give this stupendous energy, locked up in most people? Direction. You have a tremendous force. You have a force which stopped the Vietnam War. No two ways about it. I know. I was one of the energy manipulators on that. It wasn't the politicians stopped the Vietnam War, you know. They're going to get the credit for it, except in the Akashic records, which speak only truth. It was the prayers of thousands of people throughout the world that stopped the Vietnam War, that stopped the war in Korea, that stopped almost every war. The masters have stated categorically that these are the most important years in your collective lives on this planet. And it is true. Throughout the years, you have, I'm not meaning you personally, but I mean you, humanity, have needed intervention after intervention after intervention after intervention, or you would not be here. It wasn't very long ago that you needed intervention on a very large scale on a certain realm. If that intervention had not been given, you would now either be on that realm yourself as slaves or mad. When I say you, I mean every man, woman, and child living upon earth. Categorical statement made not by George King, but by the great masters. No, this intervention soon has to stop. And when it does, we must have the courage to at least try to stand on our own feet. And many people are doing just this, but not enough. Many people have a spiritual regard for the country in which they live, for the world as a whole, but not enough. Many people have the tremendous potential within them of prayer, but not enough use it. And when they do, they use it in the wrong direction. Prayer directed can be one weapon, ladies and gentlemen, weapon, which every one of you can use to better this earth. We have to accept things as they are, not as we want them to be. It's taking all these things into consideration that caused me to give you the new yoga, which I call Operation Prayer Power. If the world had been perfect, you wouldn't need it. But the world is imperfect. We have to accept things as they are. We are limited in what we can do, to a certain extent, on certain physical realms. But we are not limited, not one of us, on the spiritual realm. And it's there where we can work. And it's there where, in the future, we will have to work, whether we like it or not, because we'll have no choice. We'll have to do it to survive. Right, we can work on spiritual realm. And this is what I came back to. I said, right, now how can we work on spiritual realms? We can work through prayer. Very well. Now, there's got to be a way to potentize prayer. And there was one. It's a way which we'd been using for years before this. Supposing it was possible to bring a number of people together, no matter who they are, whether they've heard of the Aetherius Society or not. Supposing you bring a number of spiritually minded people together. They can be Buddhists, spiritualists, Mohammedans, anyone you like. You bring them together. And they have a common direction. Prayer for the world. Shall we say this? Prayer for the starving masses of India. And supposing you could potentize their prayer by some easy method outside of themselves that didn't depend on their own limited skills, supposing you could potentize their prayer 5, 6, 7, 8,000 times, what would you get? Well, you'd get 5, 6, 7, 8,000 times the result brought about, wouldn't you? It's a law. It's a law, ladies and gentlemen. It's a definite law. I mean, if you did that, it cannot do anything else but work. It's got to work. It's the law. If I have a candle here, and I take a lighter from my pocket, and I press it, and I put the light to the wick of the candle, what happens? The candle lights. Why? A law. I have generated sufficient heat in order to cause the waxes on that candle tip to melt, to reach a certain combustion heat, and they've got to light. By me pressing down the lever of this lighter, I cause a light. What am I doing? You know what I'm doing? I'm invoking a power to cause that gas to ignite. Now, if I had no gas there, I couldn't ignite it. But I have to put everything right, and when everything is right, then I evoke a law by pressing on a little lever and light comes. And where you see that light, there is a fire diva. It's not by chance. There's not a thing on earth that happens by chance. And everything operates within this divine law. Not only we tiny little insignificant pieces of cosmic dust, but suns and mighty galaxies operate within this same divine law of action and reaction. So we potentize this energy several thousand times, and we get several thousand times more result. How can you do this? You can do it in several ways. One is, instead of bringing 100 people together, bring 500,000 together. That's one way to do it. Ever tried to bring 500,000 people together? Isn't easy. In fact, so decadent and indolent as man become, that it's very difficult to find 500,000 real, true, spiritually minded people in one place at any one time who will pray for the earth. So, having compassion on humanity, a very deep compassion for humanity. So it was with, and because I have a great feeling for humanity, because I can see what has happened, because I know beyond any doubt that mankind was not put on the earth to suffer, and he was not put on the earth to suffer. He was put on the earth to grow and learn through experience. That's what he's here for, not to suffer. And it grieves me greatly when I see men suffer unnecessarily. So I evolved a system whereby this prayer could easily be potentized several thousand times. And the system was simple. And the system works. And it's very, very simple. By doing this, the biggest breakthrough in metaphysics of modern times was made. Beyond any doubt. I can, or at least, you can, because you're the people that are going to do this, not me. You can, with the right direction, with just a little bit of practice, a little bit of discipline, you can, instead of sending your prayer energy out hither and yon, to whence you know not where, you can contain it. And you can put it in a physical receptacle. 7, 8 years ago, such a feat would have been completely impossible for any of you. It no longer is impossible. Contain it in a physical receptacle. And then you can discharge this physical receptacle at any time you need to. And not only that, and this is even more important, you can put compression behind that energy, because it's just an energy, you know. Prayer's not just an airy-fairy thing, it's an energy. You can put pressure behind that energy, and you can guide that energy to any part of the world which needs it, whenever you choose. Now, straight away, you can see one or two benefits right now. One is obviously this. Supposing there is an earthquake in Peru or anywhere else, what happens after an earthquake in those countries? Terrible amount of suffering. When this happens, if you've got one modicum of decency, you at least say a prayer on behalf of those suffering people. That's the least that you do. And if you don't, then for God's sake, change your ways here and now. You're saying it there, someone else there, someone else there, someone else there, no direction, no coordination. Now, you direct that energy, and you get a tremendous force. Supposing that you'd been prepared for the earthquake. You didn't know it was going to happen, but you were prepared for anything that might. Okay? And you contained your prayer energy in one of these batteries. This is just an empty model, or I couldn't lift it up like it. One of these batteries. And then supposing you could, when you needed it, exactly when you needed it, put that battery into a rather large, rather cumbersome kind of a machine and take that prayer energy out. What would happen? And supposing you could direct that prayer energy to the suffering thousands after the earthquake, what would happen? Well, your prayers would be thousands and thousands of times more potent, wouldn't they? And you don't have to be a mathematician to work it out. You don't have to be a clever person. You don't have to be a scientist to see it. It's got to work. Well, it does. And that's just what I call our new form of yoga. I have taken karma yoga, and according to the Bhagavad Gita and other great books, service is the greatest thing that man can do. I've taken karma yoga, and I have taken bhakti yoga, the yoga of love. L-O-V-E, another fantastic energy, because without L-O-V-E, you can't have the energy generated by prayer. I put those two together. And I've taken the result of my Nani, which has given me some wisdom, not much, but some, and I've been able to formulate an instrument which brings these two yogas into this century and beyond. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is prayer power, and that's it, and that's all there is to it. And it's that simple, and it's that easy. A lot of people object to me saying this, but I'm going to say it. Why people haven't thought about it before, I'll never know. Because it's so simple, and it's so easy, and it's so straightforward. All it needs is real good working knowledge of the science of radionics, going further than anyone's gone on Earth in radionics, by the way, that's all, which isn't much, and a real genuine love of people and a knowledge of the law of karma. We can direct this energy whenever we want it. It can stay in a battery for 2 years, 5, 100, it doesn't matter. As long as the battery doesn't fall apart, and it won't too easily, they've been very carefully made, they're all hand-built by, there's only 3 people know this circuitry, and nobody else will. I repeat, we're not selling these because there isn't enough money to buy them. Not that they're that costly, but they, like all good things, in the wrong hands, you know. You can release this energy in 30 minutes, and you have this tremendous concentration of prayer power rushing across the earth. You know, maybe you don't know, I'll tell you. Professor Einstein, God bless the good gentleman, was wrong. He was wrong in many ways, which I won't go into now, but one way that he was wrong was saying that light is the ultimate velocity. It is not the ultimate velocity. In fact, light is standing still, dragging its anchors in comparison with some velocities, with the velocity attained by some energies. Prayer, under compression and direction, can travel at approximately 4 million times the speed of light without any change to its energy structure. Not my opinion, the opinion of the masters who can see it and measure it. And even that's slow in comparison with some other energies I could talk about. So this energy can be sent out, and even if it revolves round the world 1,000 times until it finds the pocket of suffering caused by disharmonious conditions, your aftermath of your earthquake, in other words, even if it revolves round the earth thousands of times until it finds that pocket of suffering, until it's manipulated in the right way into that pocket of suffering, it still doesn't matter. Eventually it will go there, and eventually it will help the people there. You'll never know, probably, exactly what you've done, but does it matter? You'll not get letters of praise for it, but does that matter? Not at all does it matter. So we should adopt a real spiritual approach in this. Say, right, we are going to work for the earth. We are going to work for the earth in a very potent manner. Because we are working for the earth, we are working for ourselves, because you can't help the next door neighbor without helping yourself in one way or the other. Therefore, this is what we are going to do, and we won't get any praise for this, but it doesn't matter. But sooner or later, you will be praised, if that's what you want. I don't think it is with most people. I know there are many people in this audience who give healing, who pray, who send out energy, and there are many people in this audience who do that, I know, and they don't want praise, not at all. They're only looking to help the earth, and by Jove, they are helping the earth too. They're unusual people. You know why? They've not only got spiritual convictions, but they're rare. They have the courage of those spiritual convictions, and this makes a man rare among men, because very, very few people have it these days. Now, the yoga is extremely flexible. You can take a battery up to the mountain in the right way, charge it with energy, bring it down and discharge it. Or you can charge it remotely. It's possible to put a battery on Holston Down in North Devon and charge it from the north of Scotland. Charge it from America if you like, if you want to. It's possible to put a battery in America and charge it from England. Simple laws. Simple laws. Somebody had to give them to you. You know, thousands of lives ago, before you destroyed Atlantis, you knew all these laws, but you've forgotten them. So somebody had to come along and say, right, oh, well, it's about time the people of Earth were re-educated in the laws of spiritual energy transmission. So it looks as though I'm stuck with a job. Somebody had to come and show you folks how to collect electrical energy together and send it down a wire so you could light and heat your homes. Well, this energy obeys the same laws exactly as electrical energy. They're the same basic laws, only this obeys them in a different way, on a higher level. Your prayer energy obeys those laws, but they're on a higher level. That's all. You don't need a wire to send your prayer energy down, although you can send it through a wire if you like. Put it in one of these little babies, send it out whenever you want to, and you have a magnificent tool. Just by harmonizing an area. And that is virtually what the new yoga is capable of doing. Direction of energy, tremendous concentration and compression, and direction to a specific area, even if it travels round the earth hundreds of times, until it finds this particular weak spot, this vacuum, and breaks through the barriers and gets in there, and then you have a harmonization of that area. And the higher the quality of energy that you put into these batteries, the more sure the results will be. If your energy is of the highest, you can guarantee the results. If it's a little lower, then there's less guarantee, but you'll still do a tremendous amount of good. That is why, with Operation Prayer Power, the more you practice it, the more you use it, the more you really learn to pray properly in a concentrated manner without thought drift, the better will be the results. All life is one, expressing itself through multitudinous forms in order to gain experience. And whatever happens to a section of this earth happens to every section of this earth. When we help that section, we help all sections. If enough help is given, especially of a spiritual nature, earthquakes, famines, etc., will not be necessary, and they will not be able to happen. It wouldn't be possible to have an earthquake in any country on earth unless certain experiences were deserved by that country. But let's again go back to what the masters say. Mankind can go into the new age, and he's going to go into the new age in one of two ways: either through tremendous suffering, as he has done in the past, or without the tremendous suffering. He was not put on earth to suffer. There's been at least 3 flips in the axis of this earth. This is easily provable in the past. Several civilizations, more advanced in certain ways than the present one, have come up. They've made a very great mistake, an atomic mistake in 2 cases, and the explosion was so violent as to flip the earth on its axis. And humanity, as we know it, the face of the earth was changed, and humanity as we know it was a portion of it removed from this realm to another one, there to wait their reincarnatory cycle. All these things are totally unnecessary, can be avoided by the application of knowledge, spiritual energy, and science in the right way. Okay, how can you charge a physical battery with spiritual power? Very simply, by using the physical battery as a target and directing the spiritual power. In that battery there is a crystal formation, and this crystal formation will hold a certain amount of spiritual power until it is saturated. You can put spiritual energy into anything. The type of energy I am talking about is no airy-fairy thing. The whole axis of creation revolves around it. Take away the 5 pranas and you can't have creation. The ancients have told you this for thousands of years. And now, very gradually, scientists are beginning to find this, that there are basic energies in the universe common to all creative forms, or common to all created forms. That energy is the same energy you use for healing. A person has a physical body, and you can put your spiritual energy into that physical body. It's 1, 2, 3, or 4, or 5 of the 5 major pranas which abound in the universe, which are found in outer space and beyond. It's not atomic energy, but it's the axis around which everything revolves. Alter it slightly, the amalgamation of this energy, and we get the atoms of water. Alter the energy very, very slightly, and we get the atoms which make up iron, which make up mercury, which make up another gas. Alter those energies slightly again in a different form, in different degrees, and what do we get? We get a thing that we call spiritual energy. I use the term spiritual energy because I didn't want to get into the deeper aspects of occultism at this time. My idea is to teach you, not to confuse you. So you can impress all material things with this energy. There isn't one of you, I'm sure, that hasn't gone into a church and said, oh, the atmosphere here is beautiful. That hasn't gone into another building and say the atmosphere here is terrible. Why? Where's that atmosphere come from? Does it happen by chance? No, the very walls are impregnated with the people who pray there, with the people who go there. You know this. Go into a sick room that somebody has died of cancer. God bless them. What? You can feel it. It's the same energy, folks, amalgamated in a different way. I've always told you that the energy used by an evil magician and a white magician, or a good magician if you like, is the same energy. It's only vibrating on a different level. And it's made up of a combination of the 5 major energies. There's actually 5 major energies and 5 minor energies. This is the basis of all occultism. If you don't know that, then you don't know about occultism. If you do and can use it, then you do. Same energy. The energy that passes through space is the energy which passes through you. It's the creative energy. It's the axis upon which all matter revolves. Take it away and we couldn't have matter as we know it. So it impresses matter. Not only does it impress matter, but it holds it in position. Manifests itself as gravity, various forms of energy, electricity, radioactivity. Altered slightly. When you ask for power and you pray and you give it out in love to a person, aren't you being like the cell of a battery? You most certainly are, yes. You're a radiation machine radiating this energy. That's what spiritual healing is. You don't know what powers you are wielding, and you'll never know what powers you are wielding till you start to use them. And the more you start to use them, the more you'll be able to use them. First of all, you took my word on faith, and you always have to begin by taking the word of a master on faith. Not that I'm calling myself a master, but a teacher on faith. Then you prove to yourself what he has told you. You first of all took my word on faith when I said put your hands up like this, so you did so. Now you couldn't pray any other way, now could you? Of course not. Because it's the right way. So little is known about prayer, and yet it's so very, very simple. When we contain this and later compress it, which the discharge apparatus does, it virtually physically compresses this. We're no longer dealing with spiritual energy, we're dealing with cosmic energy. And when we deal with cosmic energy, we've got to tread very, very lightly, because we have a fantastic force here. And that is a new yoga, old as mankind, yet new as tomorrow, brought right up to date. Something which I'm happy to say can be used by everybody.